Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have started this chapter, that is security challenges and vulnerabilities. We have discussed about last time about computer crime, and we talked about various kinds of crimes which are possible, or you can say system abuse, which uh, are basically possible, and they are divided into various categories. We have discussed about the identity theft and other kinds of frauds. uh, the What are the internal threat? Today we will start with the internal threat. The first internal threat is from the employee. There are actually you can categorize threats as internal and as well as an external, because if there is a breach somewhere outside the organization, and there may be the hackers who want to hack your system, or intruders outside your system, those are considered to be external threats. But in any organization, the employees are working over there, the users are there. So there is always an internal threat from the people who are working there. And it is often possible because the people have access to the system. They have been given access to the system, and those people who have given access to the system, obviously they have the inside knowledge as well, because they are working over there. So they we have to keep an eye on all those users of the system within the organization. Security threats often originate inside an organization. This is true because all those people who are working inside the organization have an access to the system. Then they have more knowledge about the system, and obviously they interact with each other, and there we have social groups, political groups within the organization. So the sharing of information is also there. So there is always a chance of security threat within an organization, because those employees have inside knowledge. Third point is regarding sloppy security procedures. If you have sloppy security procedures, then people might access into the systems, and you will not be able to stop them. So the controls are lacking. Very simple. If we do not put a check on the people who are coming inside the organization, so we let people come in, those who can create problem for the organization. Similarly, if we do not have any proper controls on our system, then due to this, people might have an access to things, and that will create problem for the organization. That is why we call it sloppy security procedures. So we have to be very strict about all the security procedures whatever we have. We also call it procedures, and you can also say it protocols, security protocols. And the fourth point is social engineering, tricking employees into revealing their passwords by pretending to be legitimate members of the company in need of information. Um, Obviously, whenever people work somewhere, they have some sort of social relationship, and sometimes that creates problem, because we are so close to each other, even within the organization, that we are even not reluctant to share our passwords. And uh, and then that information is leaked to one to another, and obviously maybe it can be lead to someone who can use that password to create problems within the organization. So that is the concept of uh, social engineering. So how we connect one to another, one group to another group, and we share information with each other. So that is very very dangerous while we share these things. Even if you are not in a company, and if you are individual users, you even might have lot of passwords. But whenever you are sharing your passwords or your personal information to even to your close friends, it means that the risk is increasing, because you have told them the password and they might told this to another person who is close to them or you, and then obviously that information is passed to for to the unwanted people, and they might use it and they might hurt you. Similarly, within the organization, every employee has its own username and password, because every employee within the organization who have an access to the information system always logged with their own username and passwords. So that is why that must be kept secret. uh, otherwise if somebody has a wrong intention within the organization, they might use it for their own purpose and create problem for even for those employees and also for the organization. System vulnerability. How sorry Software vulnerability. How software is vulnerable? Commercial software contains flaws that create security vulnerabilities. Why? Because commercial softwares are those softwares which normally we buy it from any source. That is why we call it commercial application. For example, we are interested to have a management tool, then we can buy it, we can purchase it. We want to have a database tool, we have to buy it because it's a commercial software. If you are looking for any business related tools, we can buy it, because whenever we say commercial software, it means all those softwares which even you can buy or take a license and you can use it. But even a commercial software can contain flaws. It does not mean that whenever you have a commercial software, it does not have any bugs, or it should be should be bug free. But sometimes it contains flaws, and those flaws are normally called hidden bugs. When I say hidden bugs, it means some sort of maybe the coding defect, and that defect comes very rare whenever you are using that software. But it can come, and it can create problem for you. So flaws can open networks to intruders. So whenever you have various flaws in your software, or your defects or in your softwares, uh, it is always easier for the intruders. Who are intruders? Intruders are those people who want to get into your system, so that maybe they want to steal the information, or they want to change your information, or they want to access to the restricted data, or they want to create problem in your software. Those are called intruders. Patches, small pieces of software to repair flaws. This is a technical term, patch. Sometimes you also use it. Okay, I'm going to install a patch. What does it mean? If you are going to install a patch, it means it is a separate piece of file which you download from your source, and that will repair the flaw. That is why we call it patches. So whenever these commercial softwares are available and they have some flaws, the the owner or the vendors of those softwares will they always launch various patches. So we have to install those patches so that we can remove those flaws and faults in that particular application, so that they can work bug free. And okay, Now we talk about the business value of security and control. What is the business value of the security and control? It depends on number one, the failed computer systems can lead to significant or total loss of business function. Very easy. Let's suppose if you have a company which is delivering, let's suppose, the online orders of garments maybe. So you have a system within the organization and your clients are connected to your system and they can see the information and they can order, and then you will confirm the order, and obviously you will provide that item to the doorsteps of that people. Let's suppose your system fails, because there is always a possibility that your system might fail. Why? Because we have already discussed the system is based on the hardware and as well as the software, and there is always a possibility that your hardware may fail. You might have some serious issues with your software application. That is quite possible. Due to what? Due to all those vulnerabilities which we have discussed earlier on. So let's assume for this for a moment that your computer system failed. So obviously, when your computer system failed, those people will not connect to your organization or your firm, and they will not be able to place orders to your firm. And let's suppose it will happen for 12 hours. So obviously you will lose all the business in that hours, and obviously that will contribute towards the loss of total loss of business function. So firms now are more vulnerable than ever. So obviously now the firms are more vulnerable than ever. Why? Because they have the confidential personal and financial data, because every organization nowadays they have the personal information, let's suppose, of all those customers who are connected to them, because they have the information of their credit cards, they have the information of their contacts, their address, and other related information, and obviously the financial data. So similarly, the organizations have various information about products, about strategies in various files, maybe various presentations by the management. It is there, and obviously there are trade secrets as well. So because now the organization have all that information, and all that information is available digitally or digitized form, so it means the firms are more vulnerable. If you will not go for proper security and control procedures and protocols, then the intruders might get into your system and can steal that information. There are lots of examples, real life example exist not only in Pakistan but also all over the world, that how intruders get into your system due to a certain failure, and obviously that those intruders have created troubles for the organizations, and it leads to a big loss for those organizations. A security breach may cut into firm's market value most immediately. If there is a security breach, so firm market value जो क्या होगी, that will be cut down. If there is a security breach, the market value the, of that particular firm obviously is cut down. Inadequate security and control also bring forth issues of liability. So inadequate security and controls obviously will create problem for the organization, and it become the liability. Let's assume for a moment, let's take an example. If I have an account in a UBL, and if I perform all my financial transactions through UBL. So let's suppose I came to know that my due to the security breach, somebody else knew my financial details. So how I will react to it? Because I will, this is my personal data, this is my secret data. If it happened due to the inefficiency of the organization, then I will not trust that organization, and maybe I will take my account from that bank to another bank. So obviously then the customers and the clients will lose confidence in that organization, and when they lose confidence with that organization, it is quite obvious that the market value will come down, and people will not trust that particular firm. So so if you are not introducing the proper security and control procedures, then it becomes the issue, it becomes the liability for that organization. So they have to introduce such things. Okay. Now we talk about the legal and regulatory requirements for electronic records management and privacy protection. In this slide, it is with reference to the procedures which are being adapted in United States, but and that is why the same act is representing over here on this slide. But nowadays, even we have in Pakistan, we also have a legal and regulatory framework for the digital data management and privacy protection. So we have a law which is somewhat similar to the law which already exists in America and Europe. So we need some legal and regulatory requirements for electronic record. Why? Because if there is no legal and regulatory protection, then okay, let's suppose what will happen if somebody in the organization takes my personal information, and they let's suppose they performed a certain transaction in my account. So how I will make a complaint, to whom I will make a complaint, what is the punishment of this crime, and what evidence will be accepted in the court of law. Therefore, every country must have a legal and regulatory framework, so that all types of computer crimes, digital crimes, and cyber crimes can be covered in that particular law, and that evidence is to be counted, and there are punishments which are defined with respect to the crime. So that is very important to know, that we always have a legal and regulatory framework. If we don't have any legal and regulatory framework, or there is no law, then people will not have a confidence in those organizations, and they will not uh, give their data to those organizations, because then they will say, okay, there is no law to protect me. So obviously, the confidence level will go down. But if we have a proper law, then we know exactly that okay, then I can sue them, and I can take their application to a specific body. What is meant by an electronic evidence? So we talk about an evidence whenever we have a crime, we need to have an evidence. Whenever there's a robbery at home, whenever police comes, they try to find out the evidence. They look for certain things. They might look for the fingerprints. They might look for something which left over there. So Similarly, whenever we have a cyber crime or whenever we have uh, a digital crime, so we need to have the electronic evidence, and that electronic evidence obviously means that it can be in terms of an email, it can be in terms of the data which is available on computers, it might be in terms of the various transactions which you have performed over a period of time. It might be considered, it might be the messages which you have sent to somebody. You might there are files which are there in your system, the files which you have sent to others. Let's suppose the pictures you have, all of these things can be considered as an electronic evidence. And even in Pakistan now there is a law, cyber security law, and the other laws as well. And all these laws in those cases, any kind of such evidence is now admissible in the court of law. So, evidence for white collar crimes often in the digital form. So, this term is also used quite often, that is called white collar crimes. So, what are these white collar crimes? These are the crimes which are more sophisticated crimes, and normally these sophisticated crimes normally happens in the electronic form, in the digital form. You might heard a terminology that is called money laundering. So money laundering is also considered as the white collar crime. And why? Because it is very difficult to find out that who initiated this and how, let's suppose, this money is being transferred to others, and so on and so forth. So but nowadays, if you have that evidence, then you can produce this evidence in the court of law. Proper control of data can save time and money when responding to legal discovery requests. So if you have a proper control of data, it means you have an access to that data and you have retrieved that data, then it will be easier for the prosecutors to respond in case of any legal discovery request. For example, if somebody is involved in in harassment, and somebody launched a complaint, then that organization or that maybe the police can arrest that person along with the computer and the mobile he or she is using, and then recover that data, and they can find out whether he or she is involved in such act or not. So if you have a proper control of data, then you can you can do this in a quick time. And obviously, if you do not have a proper control of data, then it will take a much longer time to find out, to discover who is involved in this incident. Computer forensics, this is a very a new field. You can say it's an emerging field nowadays. We also call it computer forensics, which is actually a subfield of another domain that is called digital forensics. Right now, Karachi University of Karachi has established a center for digital forensic science and technology, which is the first center of Karachi, and I guess it is the first center which is established in Pakistan. So right now I am the director of that center as well. So I am so I know the importance of computer forensic and digital forensics. So you people must understand what is that concept. So when I say forensics, forensics normally is a term which actually came from the medical side. Whenever in whenever we are going through with certain let's suppose if a person dies and they want to know exactly that how that what is the reason of the death, and what, for example, if a poison is given, try to find out how it is given, when it is given, what actually it did to the person, so on and so forth. That all fields relate to forensics. Actually it's the investigation and to finding out an evidence. But here we are talking about computer forensics, so it means we are talking about scientific collection, examination, authentication, preservation, and analysis of data from computer storage media for use as evidence in the court of law. So what we do in such cases, that let's suppose if we have a person which is involved in any sort of unwanted activity, so normally what we do is we try to we try to capture all those computers, laptops, um, tabs, or mobile phones. What we want to do is we try to capture all these things, and what we will try to do is that we try to collect and we check the systems, and we take all the data from there, and we analyze data, and then we produce that data to the court of law as an electronic evidence. So computer forensic in that case is a area, is a domain which can do this that task. And obviously, um, what we'll try to do, we'll try to recover all the ambient and the hidden data, because obviously whoever the person who is involved in such activity will not put that data in a very simple manner. They always try to hide it, that data, even in the computer, even in the mobile. It is not that easy that okay, when you open the computer it is there on the desktop. No, it is not there in the desktop. It might be hidden somewhere else. It might be replicated to another file. It might be replicated to a file with a different name, or uh, or maybe the in a format which is not understandable. So obviously they keep that data in that manner. So but in if you are going through with the forensics, then you have that ability to recover the that hidden data, information systems, protocols, which includes two types of controls. One is called manual and automated controls, and the other one is called journal and application controls. So both type of controls are there, generalized control and manual and automated controls as well. So when I say a journal controls, it means governed design, security, and use of computer programs and security of data files in journal throughout organizations, information technology infrastructure. Then we talk about the governance of the basic design, how it will work, then how what will be the security which you will add into it, and obviously the use of computer programs and security of data files in journal throughout organization inform, or obviously this it's a journal policy, journal control. Okay, and all these journal controls are in line with the organizational's information technology infrastructure, and it is applicable to all applications which work over there. There is no specific criteria, it is there for everyone. Combination of hardware, software, and manual procedure to create overall control environment. So every environment, such environment might have some hardware, might have some software, and might have some manual procedures to create that particular environment. So these are called generalized controls. So generalized controls consist of the software controls, hardware controls, then we have the computer operations control, then we have the data security controls, then implementation controls, and last is called the administrative controls. So we start with the various kinds of controls, and we will discuss each controls separately. So when we talk about general controls, it includes number one, the software controls. Software controls means that every software has its own mechanisms by which we can introduce various things, and we can introduce various levels of security. Every software has its own controls. For example, if we are using Oracle for your data management, so Oracle software have its own controls, and that can be used to protect data from unauthorized access. Similarly, we have hardware controls. Hardware controls restrict you or put conditions so that you can restrict somebody to use, for example, for your employees, you have decided that you will not provide the USB ports to your employees so that they can use the flash drives, so that you can do it, and it means now they cannot use that in their machines. So that is hardware control. Similarly, computer operations, whatever the operations which are being performed on the computers, you can put conditions on it, that okay, you can perform this operation, and let's suppose the insertion, but you are not allowed to do the deletion. So you are only performing the insertion operation, or somebody else may be given the update permission, they can update it. So you can also add controls to various operations. Similarly, we have data security controls. So we have various kind of controls. We can add data security. For example, if you logged in for the first time, and you have not using your application, or you are not attending your system, your session might close after 10 seconds. It's a security control. Let's suppose if you try to log in and you enter the wrong password, it might give you another chance. And if third time you do the same thing, it will not allow you to enter it until you verify yourself. Sometimes you see that we have captcha. We have to write a certain text to make sure. Sometimes we have in our systems, now we are using the mobile systems, for instance, they give us the OPTP password, or you can say a number which we have to enter to execute that transaction. What is this? Again, it's a security control. So we can add various levels of security controls from low level to the highest level, so that we can make sure that there will be no security breach. And then we talk about implementation and administrative. I will combine these two together. It means administrative control. Somebody in the organization has the right to make the administrative control, to check who is doing what, who have been connected since morning, who have not connected since morning, what rights to be given to that person. Should I give all rights to the person, or I give the minimum rights to the person? So all of these are considered as generalized protocols, and that have to be implemented. If you do not implement these protocols, again I am saying, then you are more vulnerable to threats. You are more vulnerable to the abuse, because you do not opted for any controls. So obviously, even if we are using the system at the personal level, not even if we are not working in the organization, we have to have generalized controls. Whenever we are using Facebook, whenever we are using WhatsApp, whenever we are using email account, whenever we are using uh, any storage on clouds, so we need to have some sort of generalized controls. If we do not have any generalized controls, then again it means that you are vulnerable. because somebody might intrude into your system and they might hurt you.